Okay. It's 5:30 in the morning. Still awake, and I've been packing and running errands all day, and still haven't been able to sleep. The reason I'm on here making this video is because there's an important thing that had been overlooked in our community too. You know that conversation where if you ever have any symptoms of anything, if you're ever too tired, and it usually comes from another black person wanting you to do something at that very moment in time, regardless of what you were already doing or thinking, right? Or what you need. If you say that you're tired too many times, what are the first two responses? One is for both men and women. Oh, it must be drugs. The second one is only for women. Well, are you pregnant? You know why I'm awake at 5:30? It's because I've never been a person that slept at night. It's always been at daytime. I do a lot of writing, and so I had some time on my hands, and I've just been writing, and it just, I don't get to control when something crosses my brain. Or maybe you can. I haven't figured out how to do that yet, because prior to the past couple of years, was a very, like OCD type A person. Me going on sick leave stopped me from doing that, and it reminded me that before I went to like 3rd grade and below, I actually was a pretty creative person. Now, I can't draw, but I could have practiced and kept going. But no. That's about the time where everybody felt like it would be in my best interest for me to focus on like STEM, because I was pretty good at it. Science, technology, engineering, we did a little in elementary. It wasn't a whole lot in math. To date, there's only been one person ever in my life that's beaten me in any of those subjects, and it's my cousin, a male cousin. He's the only person that's ever beaten me in any of those things. I get offended when y'all bring up all of this stuff about people who have a background, because that is rampant throughout my family. And with that being said, I've seen a whole lot. I didn't do a whole lot of it because, my family know my attitude. If I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. And whatever. We'll deal with that tomorrow whenever you finish doing whatever stupid shit that I don't want to do. Sometimes it's not a bad thing. Sometimes it's bad and they are cool and they don't die. And sometimes it's like a good thing, but it doesn't matter because I was busy. But anyway, before like third grade, I was pretty creative. I wrote poems. I tried to sing, but that got to just be in your vocal cords. Your vocal cords got to be shaped for that through your DNA, all right? But if I get to pick, if I run into Ursula from The Little Mermaid, the voice I'm gonna pick is Kelly Price. I'm sorry, listen, her voice feels like Hennessy and coffee in the morning. It just feels, I don't know, like warmth, all right? And I want to do that to people. So I would pick her voice, but okay, no more sidetrack. See, that right there, creative people. But I lost sight of that because I was also good at the other stuff. I always meant to go back, but I guess maybe this is why. This is why I had to go on sick leave, because I wouldn't have went back otherwise. Forcing me to try. I go back and forth about whether it's worth it or not. And so what I think is, in the black community, we have a lot of people who are creative. We need one of everything. We could have philosophers. We could have sculptors. We could have painters. We could have all kinds of stuff. It's more than just, music and dance. We got them. Let's find a black philosopher. Can we do that? I mean, like from now. Centuries from now, the way we read all of the stuff that happened, like from the dark ages on, they'll read from us. What are we going to say that we did? What are we going to say this time period is about? What do we explain to these kids? So a lot of kids probably could go down those fields, but we don't let them because we keep trying to fit into a square hole with a circular peg. I mean, maybe it's backwards. I don't know. I haven't slept, all right? So anyway, the point is, sometimes it's not drugs. Sometimes it's not pregnancy. Sometimes it's something that may be helpful. Now, can you talk to the person and ask them to make sure that they're okay? Yes. But my problem with that is a lot of black people do say, no, that's not what I'm doing. But that answer is never good enough for certain people. I said one comment on one of them pages about we should start giving each other the benefit of the doubt. Oh, no, we don't. Okay. Well, the reason I said that is because if we approach each other suspicious all the time, that right there is an admission that all black people are going to do something messed up at some point. If you don't trust your own people, are you going to get fucked over? Yeah. But think about the greater good. That's all I was saying. And yeah, I'm outside. I'm at the gas station by my house, and because people still sleep, and I needed to just it's quiet outside at this point. Anyway, we are black society. We determine what the message is going to be. And a lot of times when y'all say certain stuff, that's the message that not only outsiders are getting, but our kids are getting. I was thinking about the millennials, the Gen Z earlier today. Because it's always like, oh, that generation don't care about nobody. That generation don't have no drive. Why should they? We had drive. We got scholarships. And what did we do with it? Did anybody put anything back? I asked a couple of years ago some people that I thought would understand why it was important for me to do some stuff in the community. They did it a little bit, but it was still only because I asked, not because they felt it in their heart. So, I guess I'm saying all this to say is that sometimes if you want to be a person that's connected somehow to a person that is either creative or gifted in any way, if it's a gift, you don't get to control when it comes out. And it just pours out of you all of the time. Now, I don't know if I have a gift in this or not, because I spent the greater part of my life up until this point ignoring it because, like our parents told us, well, there's no money in that. Okay. But it could be if the right people get to do it. You know why a lot of fields, I think, just my theory, just something I've been working on, certain fields don't make enough money to sustain it. But it keeps showing up. For instance, art history. Now, I'm not an art history major, but I am a liberal arts major. But we do need people to know what they're looking at when they're talking about art and the beautiful parts of life that we get to capture. We need that to happen, but we don't got the right people in that position. We got people who had enough money to study art history. People who happen to be blessed with parents that didn't stop them. But a whole lot of people are probably in a whole different field that for them, they would find a way to make it profitable. And it would be like a welcome, ceremony for the future generations of kids that might want to go down that lane as well. When we talk to our kids about career day, all the usual suspects show up. Teacher, policeman, if you're lucky, a fireman, a lawyer, a doctor. Who else shows up? So I do feel like when I left for college, I hadn't been told about all the possibilities of things that I could be in life. There's a book called The Occupational Handbook. It tells you about the jobs that are available in society, how much they pay on average, what's the high and low amounts, what degrees, what schooling you can use to get into that field. And I feel like a lot of I haven't heard a whole lot of people talk about this, because how do we get our careers? From people in our family or somebody we just happen to know. I feel like that's passive. I feel like that's not active enough. So I do think that it's a lot of stuff we could do as black people. Anyway, so the point for all of this, in the creative process, right? I have some stuff that I want to give back to the future generation. We've all been talking about like rites of passage and how that would help. And you know why? Because it gives your kid a starting point. It keeps, this is the thing. If you have some certain rites of passage that happens around age 14 or so, right? I chose that number to not step on the toes of any other cultures. Unless there's some obscure village somewhere where they rites of passage start at 14. Anyway. Then any kid below 14, you won't have to keep them in a place that hard. It'll just come naturally to them because they'll see it. And then they also get to feel free and be kids and explore the world because they know that it stops at 14. It gives them something to say, yes, if I got this right, I am grown. And it helps them with their self-esteem. Because if they can conquer that, nobody has to remind them. And then they don't have to remind anybody else that they're grown and capable. That they deserve some trust and autonomy. And they don't want to mess that up. So they'll probably walk, the straight and narrow. Black people, I like that we have variety, but at some point there needs to be some streamline to this. It's just kind of all over the place. Somebody wake up in the morning, I think I'm going to do this. And they just go out and do it. Including me. Yep, I know. So I feel like that could be something. And you know what? I want it to not be based on money. Because we got enough things in the world telling our kids that we need to get a whole bunch of money and compete with other people on money. Yes, you can get money, but you'll have integrity in how you get said money. And we, as a culture, would have to stick to our guns about not accepting what we consider to be dirty money. That may not be the same as other cultures. So I think the kids of this generation are finally able to show us how damaged we actually are. And I feel like it's not that hard. I run into mediocre parents all of the time. And what I mean by that, marital status aside, any parent, because I've seen some wives do this too. And some of those wives were threatened with divorce. Some of them, the man just went along with it. Some single mothers do this, some single mothers don't. It's, to me, mediocre parenting is where you do a whole lot of distance from them and yelling. Now, yelling to call them down for dinner or to make sure they come back in from outside on time, that's different. What I mean is, you tell the kid to entertain themselves because you're busy, or you're tired, or you want to watch your TV program, right? And you keep doing this without ever giving the kid an option on what they should do. Kids have to be taught to self-manage. If your kid is always constantly in your face saying, I'm bored, can I have this, can I have that? It's because you haven't shown them something that they could be interested in. That whenever they have free time, they go look for that thing and they practice it and they do well. We tell our kids what to practice because we picked some skill that we want them to know. And sometimes it don't always work out that way. So, mediocre parenting is just kind of a whole lot of doing the least amount of energy and work as possible. And then in that example, if the kid is doing something and they get hurt, the only reason that parent is going to yell at that kid or spank them is because it costs money and somebody is now going to ask them where they were when it happened. Should we be around our kids 24/7? No. But what I am saying is, before you take your break, you could give them something to do. Not chores, because you technically, what I feel like is, if the kids are in there doing chores, you do need to be in there to make sure that they're doing it right. And if they are doing it right, then you could be doing some other chore in the house, and then y'all could all sit down and have more time for family. You know, like y'all claim we don't have as black people. White people didn't take that away from us. Giving up did. Giving up on ever being able to have a say-so in your kids' lives. Giving up on ever being able to raise a successful child. And success is subjective. That's what I view mediocre parenting is. And the reason I say that is because now your kid is just going around in a life of trial and error, bumping their heads until they finally figure out what they're supposed to do. When you tell kids not to do something, you have to tell them why and an alternative what they should do instead. How many of y'all know black parents that are willing to do all of that? Or would even sit there and listen to me say that? Well, it has a purpose. Because then they can know what they want to do with their lives and they can feel fulfilled. Not everybody wants to be a doctor. Some people want to do other regular stuff in the community. We still need it to happen, but we don't pay them much of anything. I don't get, like, so, food stamps and EBT money. If we, like, the people that's working, why should there be a job to where you would need any of that? You work 40 hours a week. Y'all want to complain, like, and in this sentence, this is the higher ups, right? How you going to complain that they own welfare or using government programs, but they are working? They're doing what they're supposed to do. They just can't make it. Whether they live beneath their means or not, it doesn't matter. The point is, at some point, those people who have lower paying jobs are going to need some help. They would need help if you just pay them the right amount of money. I'm kind of all over the place, but these are the arguments, the common arguments that I hear in black culture that I feel like need to stop. That's the stream of consciousness I'm on right now. I feel that the people that own these companies, like, let's just take McDonald's for example, because they everywhere. A whole bunch of buildings paying people slightly above or below poverty rates. And then they need help from the community. So yet again, the company owner is getting something cheap, and they feel like you know why the government hasn't checked them? Because they'll just pay somebody to do it robotically, or either they'll get behind there and do it themselves, so the person wouldn't have a job anyway. So the government is paying and supplementing that, but they're making us do it. It's interesting because if you work a job like that, from my point of view, you're paying taxes on your paycheck. You get it back at the end of the year, but you're literally contributing to the program that's helping you survive when if you just keep your money. But you know, the government didn't ask me, right? They didn't call me and say, what are your thoughts? The point for all of that, I don't like those stupid comparison, arguments that black people have with one another. So, with all of this being said, the kids are watching us. And if you don't like what you see, all of us as a whole are responsible. Just like whatever we did as a whole, our parents are responsible. Did they drop the ball? Maybe, maybe not. But what are we doing? What are we creating? There were a lot of programs I was in growing up. There was, in middle school, during the summers, it was called talent search. So you went on a college campus, got tutoring or whatever in other, in all of the subjects or whatever. But you get to see what it's like to be on a college campus because it'll give you something to focus on. Now, middle school, anybody could join, as long as you were at one of the targeted schools. There was no requirement, no acceptance, none of that. You just come in if you're interested. And they give you money. So during the school year, you have to get up early on a Saturday morning sometimes and go in there because they're just testing to see, if you're driven, if you can make appointments, all of that. You don't get in trouble or anything, but you don't get paid. So they pay you to show up in middle school. In high school, it was a program called Upward Bound. And it was the same thing, but for high schoolers. There were college tours. There were trips. They take you places to experience things. You get to go to other cities, see what the culture is like. It's always some educational thing. But it helped. And it did help me to want to go to college and do something. And so I want to do that for our kids going forward. There's another program called Junior Achievement. They literally taught you how to start a business. You would come up with some product, they walk you through the steps of what's needed, and then you actually get to go out and test selling that product. What other program was it? Oh, Project Grad. I forgot what they did. But anyway, the point is, those things helped. There's no way a parent, well, let's just say even if we got the American dream, right, the two-parent household, mom's a stay-at-home mom and dad's working, there's no way a stay-at-home mom and a working dad is going to be able to provide all of those things to a kid. And I feel like the government was paying us money to go to school. So I did. I got paid to go. They came into lower income places and paid you to go to school. So I personally, a lot of times I get in arguments with people my age, and I super don't care though. Still remember that part, right? But I'm not going to apologize for the things that I got through academics, because they literally paid you to be at school. You told them you didn't need the money. Then you get mad because you didn't have the money. You told them you didn't care about the skill. Then you get mad because you don't have the skill. So I don't listen to whining from people my age, because I know exactly what you had available to you. It was available to me too. Now, if you are comfortable with your choices in your life, I'll be the first one to tell people to live and let live. When I go into the old neighborhoods, I like to see people that are happy, having a good time, even if you did stay or you had to come back. The reason is because you see it with black people. What could be going on over there that's so miserable? And then it's other stuff that black people are doing. I'm not for all that whining out of old people either. And you know why? Because in a generation before me, nothing that I do should matter because you were surviving long before I got here. Ain't that what y'all always say? So if you was alive during that time, whatever was available to you, you definitely didn't use it. And so now I'm supposed to apologize for taking advantage of the things that were available to me. And they were paid to come over there and do it because it was a necessary thing according to the people who run society. They feel like y'all dropped the ball. And so it also helped two-parent households. You know, the ones that didn't move to the suburbs to say, listen, this is what a marriage gets you. It gets you into the suburbs. Okay. But it also gets you footing the bill for everything. Now, I'm not saying move to the project so you could get tax breaks or either get like your kids to get paid to go to school. But what I am saying is that the families that end up there, either they end up there because they didn't know something or didn't have something, and they had to come back, or either they've always been there and you can't miss what you never had. I personally feel like stay where you're comfortable. But different things are in different areas. So when y'all move away from the community, make sure that you have everything that you need when you go. You're not going to just keep coming in and out, in and out. And I'm a little irritated about that. Because I just really feel like some people just ain't gonna never get it. They don't want to hear us whining about slavery no more. You know why? Because we say that ain't nothing wrong. Also, we're not technically enslaved. Do we have barriers to overcome? Yes. But it's a lot less than they had in the past. Let's at least make some headway. You know, I was talking about like me asking people from the old neighborhood if they wanted to help me do something. To be honest, I'm not bitter. I'm not mad that they didn't do it. What I am is disappointed because I feel like it can help. But I got outvoted, and that's fine. That's cool. I accepted that. But then we don't get to now complain and whine about nothing. I do feel like we need to get up off our butt and do something on our own. They got the money. They say they're not going to give it. What you going to do? No, they said they're not giving out no reparations. So what you going to do? Meanwhile, even if they do give us reparations that y'all just like keep talking about, I don't have no guarantee that we're going to actually use that for our culture. I'm not the only person talking about this lately. That led me to what I think a good program would be for me to go back. But I don't know, like, if they don't want to, they don't have to. But then they also don't get to complain if I pick somebody else. This is the thing. Growing up in the neighborhood, right? There's a whole lot of complaints about what people bring from the outside over there and require us to do. And we ain't got it. And they need to understand that. Right? But if we make it ourselves, because, you know, you get offended. If anybody's coming over to bring you something that they feel is best for your kids because you didn't do it or you couldn't do it, some of the comments are going to be snide. Yes, it is. But if you don't want that, then we need to do it ourselves. Because we know what to say. We know what not to say. We know why things happen. We know what to question. They don't. And they don't have to. It would be nice if they did. But if they don't, I mean, you still got to do it. And a lot of the comments that they make are not. Some of it is not snide. It feels like snide. Because this is another theory that I'm working on. When you're an adult and you're living in an area like that and you're raising kids, at some point in time, before you were ever pregnant, there was a dream you had. Something you wanted to do. So when people, and however you are in this environment, whatever it is, content or not, it didn't have a lot of dollar signs attached to it. Like it or not, the world is running on money. That's just what we decided the currency was going to be these days. So you don't have it. And you're right, you could live a life without it. But they're tired of hearing that our kids don't get a chance. So they're sending a chance over. And you want to be the group of people that say, nah, get this out of here? Well, they have decided that it's important. So they're going to definitely force it over there anyway, because they got a plan for it when the kids become adults. So you might hear some things that you feel are snide, because that is what stopped you from going down the path that you think would have been better. And that's not everybody there. Some people was like, listen, I'm cool. This is what I was going to do when I grow up. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're honest about that decision. If you decide to change your mind later, yes, you can get up and do something different. It's possible. So I don't bug people about their choices. But what I am saying is, if I have to listen to a complaint, you need to be at least working on whatever it is. I'm not just going to be sitting around listening to that all the time. I can't do it. I'm also very close to writing off adults. Not as a tantrum, not as an ultimatum. Maybe it can be seen as considerate, respecting that you've grown. But I just like to make sure that people know the options that they have before they choose something. I know that's not something that I control. I completely get it. I understand that. But I can't sit next to somebody that I care about and just let them do something that I think is going to hurt them. And now if you just answer the question or you say you got it, cool. And then I shut up. Not out of spite. Not as an ultimatum. But because I think that's the right answer. That's what's supposed to happen next. Now, if you need some help later on, it didn't turn out the way you want it, I'm going to help. Because we talked about it beforehand. And I'm going to help. Now, I'm going to laugh and roast you down. Like, that's just going to happen. And also, I'm going to want details. So, me talking about it isn't to shame or chastise you. I just want to know what happened. Because in case I want to ever make that stupid-ass decision. But, never mind. So, me being up all night, I thought after moving I would be tired and ready to go to sleep. But no. Because all this kind of stuff has been coming out. I guess it has its reasons. Well, so I guess that's the end of my morning rant. Hopefully, I'm going home and go to sleep. But I just needed some fresh air. I needed to not be in one place. So, any questions, any input, just leave it down in the comment section. I guess I'll do a whole lot of talking to y'all later today, maybe. Bye.